Let me go ahead now and introduce our first team for presentation, and I will go ahead and hand it over to Craig and Jared from Colorado.
Hey, James, thank you very much. Thanks, Adam, and thanks to everybody out there for being with us today. This is a great venue that you guys have been doing. Obviously we are all passionate about highway safety and, and the great gains that crowdsourcing has made over the years to contribute to that. I am Jared Del Prado from the Pre-Pass Safety Alliance, and so I'll be starting off with just a brief presentation of the safety alerts that we provide to our carriers today. And then again, I'll get into the wonderful relationship we built with Colorado DOT and some of the things we've been partnering with Craig and his team on. But for starters, so if we go into some of the safety alerts that Pre-Pass offers today, first and foremost, we're a technology company, trucking technology company, and our mission literally is to make highways safer and more efficient through innovative, data-driven solutions. And one of those solutions is these crowdsourced powered safety alerts that we offer to our 700,000 plus truckers that we've got out there that run Pre-Pass today for pre-clearance and for tolling solutions and the like. And a quick distinction, these are what we are calling our dynamic safety alerts, and these are really the ones that are powered by all this great crowdsourcing data. We also have what we call static alerts, which are fixed geofences, through all the 48 states. I think there's something like 3,000 of those alerts, where we build, again, fixed geofences for other safety issues such as high winds, steep grades and things of that nature, but also, as we know, truck parking is huge, so we offer truck parking alerts there for available truck parking at rest areas and everything else that we can do what we can to help the truckers get the rest they need. We know that's been a big issue with all, ATRI reports basically seemingly forever. So, but back to the dynamic safety alerts that we're focusing on here. These are essentially real-time alerts that we give to the driver. It's both audio and visual, or depending on what is best for the driver and what is most effective to their style as they drive. And these dynamic alerts are the ones that we consider to be our critical safety alerts. Starting with work zones, we know how important work zone safety has been in these past years. And unfortunately, I think, all of us have seen, I think it came out May 17th, the latest NHTSA report for the 2021 safety numbers versus 2020. And unfortunately, fatalities rose to nearly 43,000. Up over 10% year over year, and speeds have been up, right? So we know with COVID in 2020, the speeds went up tremendously as traffic was reduced, and then last year, according to this report, there were 325 billion more miles that have been run as commerce and everything started to come back last year, yet the speeds remained up, and speeds are definitely one of the issues within work zones. And commercial vehicles, 80,000-pound trucks obviously are going to have a higher propensity to crash into work zones if they are not aware that they're coming. I mean, just slowing down an 80,000-pound truck versus a passenger vehicle is just physics. And so the best that we can do to alert drivers about work zones is going to be huge for safety there. Very, very important to industry and our DOT partners. We also have traffic congestion ahead dynamic safety alerts. And I would say really the next one that is very effective and it's been very, very critical as far as an upgrade to our alerts is what we call dangerous slowdowns, but it's really the slow traffic ahead alert. As you can see there, it's giving the warning, warning, slow traffic is ahead. And this is really where the crowdsourcing data is a strength. I'll talk a little bit more about INRIX, and I know INRIX obviously is going to be presenting here in a bit, but we are fortunate to have our data to be powered by INRIX. And these dangerous slowdown alerts, again, I'm sure they're going to explain it a lot better than I can, but essentially we're looking at massive, data points across the country, and you've got different traffic sectors that they observe. And when there's a significant change in speed, a slower change in speed from sector to sector, the driver is going to get this, hey, be aware, slow down, that there is something going on ahead. And in particular, we feel like these are so effective in the not expected traffic congestion areas, right? When it's not rush hour or it's not a city center. And Pre-Pass Safety Alliance, we're headquartered here in Phoenix, Arizona, and we had a terrible crash about a year ago or so on the Loop 202. And it was at night, it was at midnight or something, and it was around a very, very slight bend. And unfortunately, the truck driver, for whatever reason, was, distracted, exhausted, what have you, and not paying attention as they should have been. And as they rounded the corner and they were traveling 60 miles an hour, they didn't touch the brakes on the truck until they were only 3 meters away from the car in front of them. And unfortunately, the driver lost their life and there were several fatalities. But this is just an example of where, hey, I'm driving at night. Maybe you don't expect there's going to be congestion, but that's where alerts like these can be so powerful, as you get that audio and visual to say, hey, there's something going on ahead, and then you cover the brake and you start to slow down. And, the more of these alerts we can get in front of the more drivers, then obviously safety is going to just continue to improve. So, and then next, those wonderful alerts are powered by this great data that we get from INRIX. And just a quick story for me on where I think, crowdsourcing has come. I was working and living in Indianapolis, Indiana back in 2009, and I believe that's right when the Waze app came out. And so our main office was in Indianapolis, and we had another office that was in the Muncie area, which was about 40 to 50 miles up the 69 freeway. And one of my colleagues, told me about Waze, and they were running Waze. And so we literally formed this small social network with our employees and our colleagues that had to drive up and down this freeway. And there were, at the time, it was just mostly for roadkill, unfortunately. Just deer were constantly crossing that road and getting hit by cars. And within this small social network, it was just a great way to just keep track of that. So we knew when there were incidents or accidents or anything coming up. And obviously, Waze was a game changer and has just turned things around so much. And now we've got, this incredible crowdsourced data, right? Where, again, INRIX has these hundreds of sources, from traffic management centers to monitoring state DOT Twitter feeds and, connected vehicles, GPS data and mobile data and fleet data, all these very, very powerful sources of data that now feed up into this super accurate, critical information that we all can pass on, obviously for commercial vehicles, but of course for passenger vehicles and the like and everything else. And so again, from those early beginnings to now, what I'm assuming, and I think we all are hoping that the next steps of this crowdsourcing data is going to lead to CV to X and connected vehicles, and then link to the, automated vehicle future where, all these data feeds are going to basically, come together and be a huge, huge contributor to letting all of us know about incidents out there on the road, and, all of us driving towards eventually getting to zero fatalities, because it's absolutely unacceptable that we're going in the wrong direction right now as a nation, and we can do better, and these are one of the great ways to do that. So again, that's just, from our perspective, a quick update on where crowdsourcing has come and how valuable it is. And, we obviously partner with many state DOTs, and one of those is Colorado DOT, and Craig Hurst has been leading the team over there with innovations on their part as well, in what they're doing, utilizing crowdsourcing data and helping improve safety. They're working on a really cool project on the I-70 Mountain Corridor. So, with that, Craig, take it away.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for that great introduction. I think to build off what Jared was talking about, I think there's a lot of great opportunity, and really want to talk about kind of where we've started and where we're going. So Colorado is unique, in a sense of the amount of mountain driving on our interstate that we have. And the I-70 Mountain Corridor has its own set of challenges that there really is no silver bullet on how to solve this. But one of the ways that we have set out to solve the runaway trucks, or the hot brake issue, if you will, that we see most frequently in the summer, but year-round now, due to the steep grades. And so we have a system, our network of runaway truck ramps based off of the grade, all over 6%. And the data that we have from the incidents in the runaway truck ramps is that 90% of those incidents happen from out-of-state drivers with very little mountain driving experience. And so one of our challenges is how do you communicate to those drivers? You know, we have good education programs within our state, and a lot of companies participate in those, but how do you get that beyond our borders? And so one of the ways that we thought about doing this is back in 2019 was start to look at safety data and establish this relationship with PrePass as well as driveways at the time to do the static messaging on the I-70 mountain corridor based off of historical safety data where we have commercial motor vehicle crashes, including the runaway truck ramps. And so we began to build geofence locations where we thought we would supplement the roadside signage. And part of that discussion is between Rifle, Colorado and Golden, Colorado, which basically encapsulates the whole mountain corridor. We have over 110,000 road signs. And so part of the issue that we get feedback from some of the drivers on the roadway is that, you know, sometimes it's just too much signage, and that direct, real time, like at the right time for a behavioral change in the way that you're driving, these in-cab messages can be extremely effective. And so in 2019, we started this pilot program on the I-70 mountain corridor. It's been very flexible. I would say the thing that's most exciting to me is its flexibility. And, you know, if you set a geofence a half mile away and you're getting feedback from drivers in real time that it's either coming too early or it's a little too late, you can adjust that geofence and really start to fine-tune how you're getting the messaging out. And then also during this pilot, there's been flexibility in where you set up those messages. So maybe everybody has heard that the Glenwood Canyon fire in 2020 caused some significant damage in our canyon, and then the following year we had a pretty significant rock slide that shut down I-70. Well, we were able to set geofences in Nebraska and Utah, letting truck drivers know that the I-70 mountain corridor was closed, and if they can make that decision to use I-70 based off where they were going, while they were still in another state. So they're, you know, they could continue on I-80, or they can continue going north or south on 15 to the while they're in Utah to decide if they want to go north to 80 or south to 40 if they were going east to west. And so that amount of flexibility started to teach us kind of where we want to go to for real-time notification as we are starting to work towards these programs where we're doing the things that Jared was describing in his piece of the presentation. So our first real-time project that we're trying to work on is a speed warning system for these steep grades. And one of the things that we have received from the data that we have on these runaway truck incidents is that there really is a point of no return where you can come into some of these steep grade areas where if you hadn't already started slowing down, you're likely going to have to use your brakes in a way that it starts the friction heating of your braking system way too early on the mountain pass, and you're going to burn them up by the bottom of the pass. If you're not using your engine or your Jake brake appropriately, you're pretty much going to be in a bad situation. So we've taken a University of Wyoming algorithm that takes the weight of your load, which we are getting from a weigh-in motion several miles back on the main line at our port of entry. And we will be sending each specific truck a safe weight for their grade based off of, you know, if you're a 125,000 pound permitted load going down this 9-mile grade, you see her there between the Eisenhower Johnson Memorial Tunnel and Silverthorne, you should probably be going a little bit slower than the 40,000 pound floor loaded grocery load going to our Safeway or King Super grocery stores in the mountain. So we've taken that approach, and we're trying to solve kind of that real-time communications problem. I wouldn't necessarily call it a problem, but maybe an opportunity. And we found success in how we're going to deliver this, and this project will be up and running in 2022, and so we hope to start to learn the impact of these real-time messages here. And then as Jared called out, we feel that there is an incredible amount of opportunity in looking at other safety areas, in the trucking industry on how we can use these real-time safety messages to improve some of our traditionally tough safety issues to solve. Just to finish up with a couple examples, I think at-grade crossings and some of the accidents that we've seen between rail and truck freight can be at least communicated in a far better way to truck drivers, allow them to make the decision to kind of be more cautious or stay away from that at-grade crossing at the time. And, really foundationally, what goes back, when I go back to where we started on all of this, I worked in the trucking industry for about 8 years before coming to the DOT, and I truly believe that if you give a professional truck driver the right information at the right time, they'll make the right decision, and that will help improve safety on the entire network that truck drivers are utilizing around the nation. And so for me, I think that the real-time messaging will be that connection towards the future of trucking, and I think bringing that right information to the human and keeping that factor into it will really improve safety on our roadways.
Hey, Craig, this is Jared, by the way, and I was just at, I think a lot of us were just at the American Trucking Association convention here that was out here in Scottsdale, and there was representation there from Colorado Motor Carriers Association, and they were basically asking for help in a very similar topic where there was some data provided, and I know, and I'd ask you to maybe provide some insight on this as well, some data provided about the frequency of these accidents that are occurring, or even the truckers that are blowing their brakes out are often from out of state or maybe have not, traveled this corridor before. Can you provide any insight on that, and if there's any solutions, in a venue like this, right, with all these state DOTs on the line to help get the word out for anybody new traveling that corridor?
Yeah, I think so. We do kind of follow-up interviews with every incident that our state patrol responds to or our road maintenance crews respond to. And really, so I guess I'm asterisking that is we might not be able to, we might not get the data for every single incident because not every incident leads to a law enforcement contact or it could be less significant, and so we're not necessarily seeing it. But from the data we do have, it shows those that end up in a runaway truck ramp are between 88 and 92% from another state, and they have less than 5 years driving experience and little to zero mountain driving experience. And, I am working with other state DOTs just at a very preliminary level. The Colorado Department of Transportation, my team specifically, put out something called the Mountain Rules Truck Safety video, and that is in support. Kind of everything that we're doing here kind of falls under the Mountain Rules safety umbrella. But we did an opening video to our series that calls out some of these specific challenges, and we're continuing that video series by making 3 more short YouTube videos. And this next video that's coming out around the July 1st timeframe is about hot brakes and mountain driving. And really, if I were to make a plea similar to what the Colorado Motor Carriers were doing, is can't help us get that information out to drivers that are coming really anywhere in the Mountain West. Colorado might have these problems accentuated because of the amount of mountains that we have, but these are the same problems that you see in Utah, in Idaho, in Nevada, in California, in Wyoming. So really what we hope is that the message that we're putting out, it's not exclusive to the West, but it's more prominent in the West, and we can really, help some of these drivers that are not from a mountainous region understand the challenges of driving on steep grades. And so my first attempt is going to be working with Sherry Pfeiffer, who's the freight planning manager in Texas. Her and I are on the Washoe Freight Planning Committee together, and I'm going to be working through her to try to get with some of the Texas organizations, because We've seen a spike in incidents that have happened from drivers from Texas, and so that's just our first attempt, and we'd be willing to work with states from all over the country on getting this safety message out.
Awesome. That is just really, really cool to hear about that type of collaboration and everything out there, right, to keep us all safe through your beautiful Rockies. So, yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
appreciate the opportunity to talk about that because we all go back to the incident that occurred in 2019 that kind of unfortunately made Colorado famous for there for a little bit in the news about the incident that killed 4 people with a runaway truck ramp in the Lakewood area in Colorado. So really, we were working on this before that incident, but that incident has obviously highlighted the needs and the challenges that are there on the corridor. Thank you.
Well, that was very interesting. Thank you, Craig and Jared, for the great presentation, and definitely a different perspective on use of crowdsourced data. A lot of our focus has been with the EDC initiative in urban and urban areas. So this is a great example of how crowdsourced data can be used in a rural area that definitely has safety issues. So thank you guys very much for the presentation. I know as one that just took a road trip with my family to the Redwoods in California with very curvy and a couple mountain passes, it is very difficult driving conditions, so I can't imagine maneuvering a truck through some of those grades and horizontal curves. So any more real-time information and warnings and alerts we can give them, the better.